Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to be doing a deep dive into the Four Agreements
Ooh.
by Don Miguel Ruiz. It's
What?
this book that has sold over 10 million copies,
Wow.
and it's kind of become a personal development phenomenon.
Yeah, it's huge.
It really is.
It's really had a lasting impact.
For sure. And I've heard so much about this book, about its ancient Toltec wisdom
Right.
and its power to just transform lives.
For sure.
Have you ever wondered, how much of what we believe and how we behave
Yeah.
is actually based on stuff we've just accepted without question?
Oh, absolutely.
Like maybe we're living in a dream that someone else created for us.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to explore today.
That's what Ruiz is talking about, and he calls this process domestication.
Okay.
It's this idea that from childhood, we're essentially tamed by society's rules and beliefs.
Okay, so it's like we're all raised in this giant invisible cage of
Yeah.
shoulds and should-nots.
Exactly. And all those shoulds, they all come together to form what Ruiz calls the dream of the planet.
Okay.
This collective dream woven from society's expectations and beliefs.
So what does this dream of the planet look like in our everyday lives?
Think about it this way. It's all those unspoken rules
Mm-hmm.
we pick up about success relationships,
Yeah.
and even happiness.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the idea that you need a fancy job title to be successful,
Mhm.
or you have to look a certain way to be considered attractive.
For sure.
These beliefs are so deeply ingrained
Yeah.
that we often don't even realize that they're there.
Wow. When you put it like that, it's kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah.
I'm already starting to see how this domestication thing plays out in my own life.
Right. And the thing is, when we buy into these beliefs without questioning them,
Uh-huh.
we can end up living in what Ruiz calls the dream of hell.
Okay.
We're constantly judging ourselves,
Yeah.
seeking validation from others,
Right.
and feeling like we're never good enough.
Yeah.
It's like being trapped in this self-made prison of fear and suffering.
Okay, so that sounds pretty bleak.
Yeah,
But Ruiz offers a way out of this dream of hell, right?
he does.
That's where the Four Agreements come in?
Exactly. The
Yeah.
four agreements are like keys to unlock that prison door
Okay.
and step into a new dream, a personal dream of heaven, if you will.
I like that.
And the amazing thing is these agreements aren't some rigid set of rules.
Uh-huh.
They're more like practical tools for personal transformation,
Right.
a path to greater freedom and happiness.
So like a roadmap to escape the dream of hell and create a new, better dream for ourselves.
Precisely. And the first step on that journey is be impeccable with your word.
Okay.
Now, this might sound deceptively simple,
Uh-huh.
but when you really dig into it,
Yeah.
it's incredibly powerful.
I've always been fascinated by the power of words.
Mhm.
It's like they have this magic ability to create or destroy.
It's true.
But what does it actually mean to be impeccable with your word?
Well, Ruiz emphasizes that words are like magic spells. Yep. You can build someone up or tear them down.
Yeah.
He even tells this story about a woman who unintentionally cursed her daughter
Oh, wow.
with just a careless remark about her singing voice.
Oh, gosh.
And it really highlights how words can leave a lasting impact,
Wow.
for better or for worse.
That's a chilling story. It makes you realize how much weight our words carry.
Yeah.
Not just for others, but for ourselves, too.
Absolutely.
We all have that inner critic, right?
Yeah,
That voice in our heads that's constantly judging
Yes.
and evaluating everything we do and say.
And that inner critic is often fueled by the domestic.
It's like we're constantly bombarded with negativity, both from the outside world and from our own minds.
Yes.
But we have the power to choose a different language, a language of love and kindness,
Right.
and to create a more positive reality for ourselves and those around us.
And that brings us to the second agreement. Don't take anything personally.
Okay, now this one is huge, and I'll admit it's something I've personally struggled with.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Why is it so hard not to take things personally,
Hmm.
especially when someone says or does something hurtful?
Well, it's human nature to want to protect ourselves,
Yeah.
to defend our egos.
Right.
But what if we told you that most of the time, other people's actions
Yeah.
and opinions are actually a reflection of their own reality, their own internal dream,
Uh-huh.
and not really about you?
Wait, so you're saying it's not about me?
It's not about you.
It's about their own stuff.
Exactly. Ruiz uses this brilliant analogy to explain this.
Okay.
Imagine everyone is directing their own movie, and you're just a supporting character in their film.
Right.
Their actions are based on their own script,
Yeah.
their own experiences,
Yeah.
and their own beliefs,
Okay.
which often have nothing to do with you.
So I shouldn't take it personally if someone cuts me off in traffic.
Right.
Because they're just living out their own stressed out driver movie,
Exactly.
and I don't have to be the victim in their drama.
You got it. And when we can detach ourselves from that personal importance,
Yeah.
when we stop taking everything as a personal attack, it frees us from a lot of unnecessary suffering.
It's like building an emotional shield against all the negativity that's constantly coming at us. We can still have empathy and compassion for others,
Of course.
but we don't have to absorb their emotional baggage as our own.
It's about recognizing that even if someone says something hurtful,
Yeah.
it's often coming from a place of pain or fear within themselves.
You know, that actually makes so much sense.
Yeah.
It's like that saying, hurt people hurt people. Their poison doesn't have to become our poison.
And that's a perfect segue to the third agreement. Don't make assumptions.
Okay, so how many times have we all gotten into trouble by assuming we know what someone else is thinking or feeling?
All the time.
I'm raising my hand here because I am so guilty of this.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, good. Okay, good. It's not just me.
Our minds are constantly trying to make sense of the world, and assumptions are like those mental shortcuts we take to fill in the blanks.
Right.
But the problem is those shortcuts can lead us down some pretty dangerous paths.
Right. Assumptions are like breeding grounds for misunderstandings.
Yes.
Arguments hurt feelings.
Exactly. The book gives these really relatable examples,
Okay.
like misinterpreting a smile from a stranger,
Yeah.
or assuming your partner knows what you need without you actually telling them.
Oh, yeah. That happens all the time.
It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking we know what's going on in someone else's head,
Yeah.
but the truth is, we rarely do.
So what's the antidote to this assumption epidemic?
It's simple, really, but not always easy.
Yeah.
The key is to have the courage to ask questions.
Wait, so instead of assuming I know what my partner is thinking,
Yes,
I should just ask them?
exactly. It sounds so obvious, but we often resist asking questions
Right.
because we're afraid of looking foolish or rocking the boat.
Yeah,
But clear communication is essential for healthy relationships,
totally.
whether it's with our partners, friends, family, or colleagues.
That's so true. Assumptions often lead to drama and conflict.
Yes.
While honest communication can build trust and understanding.
Absolutely.
It's like choosing to build bridges instead of walls.
I love that.
And speaking of choosing, that leads us perfectly into the fourth agreement. Always do your best.
Yes.
Okay, so this one sounds pretty straightforward. Just give it your all right.
Right.
But I have a feeling there's more to it than meets the eye.
You're right. It's not about pushing ourselves to the point of exhaustion.
Right.
Or striving for some impossible standard of perfection.
Yeah, perfectionism can be a real trap. I know I've definitely fallen into that trap myself. And it can be paralyzing.
It is.
Hmm.
Ruiz emphasizes that our best will naturally fluctuate from day to day,
Okay.
even from moment to moment, depending on our energy levels, circumstances, and even our mood.
Right.
Some days our best will be phenomenal, and other days it might just be getting out of bed and putting one foot in front of the other,
Yeah.
and that's okay.
I love that it takes the pressure off, right?
Yeah.
It's not about being superhuman. It's
Right.
about showing up authentically and giving it our all,
Yes.
whatever that looks like in each moment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a story in the book that really drives this point home.
Okay.
A man asks a Buddhist master how long it will take to reach enlightenment through meditation.
Okay.
The master tells him, if you meditate for 4 hours a day,
Uh-huh.
perhaps you'll transcend in 10 years.
Okay.
The man is eager. So he asks, what if I meditate for 8 hours a day?
Wow.
The master replies, if you meditate for 8 hours a day,
Uh-huh.
perhaps you will transcend in 20 years.
Wow.
The man is confused. So the master explains that it's not about sacrificing your joy or life.
Right.
It's about being present
Yeah.
and doing your best in each moment
Okay.
without attachment to the outcome or expectations of reward.
Wow. That's a powerful story. It reminds me that it's not about grinding ourselves down
Yeah,
to achieve some arbitrary goal.
exactly.
It's about finding the joy in the journey and the process of growth and self-discovery.
Absolutely.
And it's about releasing the need to prove ourselves to others or to meet some external standard of success.
Right.
So it's about shifting from external validation to internal motivation.
Yes.
It's about doing things because they matter to us, because
Yeah.
they align with our values.
Right.
Not because we're trying to impress someone else
Yeah.
or achieve some arbitrary goal.
Exactly. And when we consistently do our best,
Mm-hmm.
even when it's hard, even when we don't feel like it, we cultivate self-trust and a deeper sense of inner peace.
Right.
We release the guilt and regret that come from feeling like we haven't done enough.
This is resonating so much with me. I can already feel the shift in my thinking
Yeah.
from self-criticism to self-acceptance.
That's great.
And that shift is at the heart of the four agreements.
It is.
It's about moving from a state of self-judgment and fear
Yeah,
to a state of self-love and freedom.
absolutely.
It's about claiming our personal power and
Yeah.
creating a life that reflects our authentic selves.
Yes.
So to recap, the four agreements are: be impeccable with your word.
Yes.
Don't take anything personally.
Mm-hmm.
Don't make assumptions.
Right.
And always do your best.
That's it.
These agreements are like tools to dismantle the dream of hell and build our own personal dream of heaven.
I love it.
But there's one more concept from the book that I'm really curious about, and it sounds pretty intense.
Well, yeah.
The initiation of the dead.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, so we're going to dive deep into that in the next part of our journey through the four agreements.
That's right.
Stay with us.
We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. Before the break, we were just about to get into this idea of the initiation of the dead.
Right, this sounds intense.
It's a powerful metaphor
But-
for personal transformation.
Okay, but what exactly does this initiation of the dead entail?
So it's not about a literal death, of course.
Right.
Ruiz uses this metaphor
Okay.
to describe a process of letting go of our old selves,
Mm-hmm.
the versions of ourselves that are limited by fear, self-doubt, and all those domesticated beliefs we've been talking about.
So it's like shedding a skin or maybe a cocoon,
Yes.
transforming into a new and better version of ourselves.
Exactly. Ruiz describes it as a symbolic death
Yeah, okay.
of the ego, the part of us that's constantly seeking approval,
Right.
comparing ourselves to others, and trying to fit into those dreams of the planet that don't truly align with who we are.
Okay, that makes sense. But how do we actually go about this death of the ego?
Wow.
Do we need to go on a vision quest or something?
It's not quite that dramatic.
Okay.
Ruiz outlines kind of three main approaches to this transformation.
Okay.
The first is to confront our fears directly, one by one.
Okay.
He compares this to attacking the parasite.
Wait, a parasite.
Yeah.
What parasite are we talking about?
So Ruiz uses this vivid metaphor
Okay.
of a parasite to represent the judge,
Okay.
the victim,
Uh-huh.
and the belief system that's been implanted in us through domestication.
Okay.
This parasite thrives on fear, self-doubt,
Right.
and all those negative thoughts and emotions that keep us trapped in the dream of hell.
Okay, so the parasite is basically all the stuff that's holding us back,
Yes.
all those limiting beliefs and fears that we've internalized.
Exactly. And confronting our fears is like taking a sword to that parasite,
Oh, wow.
weakening its grip on our minds.
So it's like one of those scary movies where they have to chop off the monster's head,
Right.
but instead of a monster, it's our own fear. And
Yes.
instead of a sword, it's our courage.
You got to now the second approach to starving the parasite
Okay.
is to gain control of our emotions,
Okay.
especially those rooted in fear.
That makes sense. If this parasite feeds off our fear, anger, and resentment,
Yeah.
then we need to cut off its food supply, right?
Precisely. But this takes discipline and awareness.
Right.
We need to become more mindful of our reactions
Mm-hmm.
to catch ourselves when we're getting hooked
Yeah.
with those negative emotions
Right.
and to choose a different response.
It's like learning to surf those emotional waves instead of getting wiped out by them.
Exactly. And the more we practice,
Right.
the better we get at riding those waves.
Mm-hmm.
We develop a sense of inner calm and resilience, even when things get tough.
Okay, so we've talked about confronting our fears and mastering our emotions.
Right.
What's the third approach to this initiation of the dead?
This is the most radical one.
Okay.
And it's the one that truly embodies the idea of letting go of the old self.
Mm-hmm.
It's called the initiation of the dead.
Okay, that sounds pretty intense.
It is.
What exactly does that involve?
So it's a process of complete surrender,
Okay.
of letting go of all our attachments
Wow.
to our beliefs, our possessions, our identities, even our past.
Okay.
It's about embracing the unknown
Right.
and allowing ourselves to be reborn into a new way of being.
So it's like hitting the reset button on our lives, wiping the slate clean and starting fresh.
In a way, yes.
Okay.
It's about consciously choosing to die
Wow.
to the old patterns, the old dream,
Right.
and to step into a new dream that's aligned with our true selves,
Yeah.
with who we really are beneath all those layers of conditioning.
Wow. That's a powerful image. It makes you think about those near-death experiences people talk about,
Right?
where they come back with this profound sense of peace and
Yeah,
a completely new perspective on life.
exactly. And Ruiz suggests that we don't have to wait for a near-death experience
Right.
to
Yeah.
have this kind of awakening.
Oh, okay.
We could choose to embrace this symbolic death,
Mm-hmm.
to let go of everything we think we know,
Wow.
and to step into the unknown with a sense of curiosity and openness.
It's like taking a leap of faith into the void,
Yes.
trusting that we'll land somewhere even better than where we started.
Yes.
But it takes a lot of courage to let go of everything we're clinging to, doesn't it?
It does, but the rewards are immeasurable.
Wow.
When we let go of the old dream,
Mm-hmm.
we create space for something new,
Okay.
something authentic, something truly aligned with our heart's desires.
So this initiation of the dead is about shedding those layers of conditioning, this domesticated beliefs that are keeping us from experiencing our full potential.
Absolutely.
It's about becoming wild again, like we were as children before the world told us who we should be and how we should behave.
Exactly, but this time we're not just wild,
Right.
wild with wisdom.
I love that wild with wisdom. It's like reclaiming that childlike sense of wonder and possibility.
Yes.
But with the added benefit of experience and self-awareness,
Yeah.
we're not just reacting to life anymore, we're actively creating it.
And that's where the true mastery of transformation lies,
Right.
in becoming the artists of our own lives.
That's a beautiful image.
Yeah.
We're not just living out someone else's script anymore.
Right.
We're writing our own story, painting our own masterpiece.
Exactly. And the 4 agreements are the tools that allow us to do that with intention, skill, and artistry.
I love it.
They empower us to break free from the limitations of the dream of hell
Mm-hmm.
and create a personal dream of heaven that reflects our authentic selves.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here,
We have.
but I'm sure our listeners are eager to know how to apply these concepts to their own lives starting today.
Right.
What are some key takeaways that we can all start implementing right now?
Well, the first step, as we've discussed, is awareness. It's about shining a light on those parasites in our minds,
Right.
those limiting beliefs and fears that are running the show.
It's like becoming aware of the software
Yes.
that's running in the background of our minds,
Yeah,
the programs that are dictating our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors.
Exactly. And once we're aware of those programs, we can start to challenge them.
Right.
We can ask ourselves, is this belief really true?
Yeah.
Does it serve me?
Mm.
Or is it just a leftover from my domestication,
Right.
a dream of the planet that I've bought into without questioning?
So it's not about denying or suppressing those negative thoughts and emotions.
No.
It's about acknowledging them,
Yeah.
understanding where they're coming from, and choosing to respond differently.
Right. It's about interrupting those automatic reactions
Correct.
and creating space for a more conscious and deliberate response.
Okay.
And the more we practice this,
Mm-hmm.
the easier it becomes.
Right.
The 4 agreements become ingrained habits.
Yeah.
And our natural response becomes one of love, acceptance, and personal power.
So it's like we're rewiring our brains, replacing those old limiting programs with new empowering ones.
Exactly. And as we make this shift,
Uh-huh.
we'll start to notice profound changes
Right.
in our relationships,
Mhm.
our work, our health,
Yeah.
and our overall sense of well-being.
Yeah.
We're creating a life that's aligned with our deepest values, our authentic selves.
And that's what this journey is all about, isn't it?
It is.
It's about waking up from the dream of hell and
Yeah.
stepping into a personal dream of heaven,
Right.
a life that's filled with joy, love, and purpose.
And the best part is you don't have to wait for some magical event or achievement to experience this transformation.
Okay.
It's available to you right here, right now.
So I invite you all to take a moment to reflect on what you've learned so far.
Yeah.
What are some of those parasites that are running your mind?
Yeah.
What limiting beliefs are holding you back from experiencing your full potential? And most importantly, what actions can you take today to start reclaiming your personal freedom and creating that personal dream of heaven?
Stay tuned for part 3 of our deep dive,
Right.
where we'll explore some practical strategies
Yes.
for applying the 4 agreements to your everyday life.
Awesome. I'm excited.
We'll be right back.
Welcome back. I don't know about you, but my mind is buzzing after that last segment.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
This idea of the initiation of the dead, of consciously letting go of the old self to create space for something new, something more authentic.
Yeah.
It's both exciting and a little bit terrifying.
It is. It's a process.
So in this final part, let's get down to the nitty-gritty.
Okay.
How can we actually start living these 4 agreements in our everyday lives?
Yeah.
Starting right now.
Yeah, let's start with that first agreement. Be impeccable with your word.
Okay.
Remember, it's not just about what we say out loud, but also about that constant chatter
Right.
going on in our heads.
Oh, you mean that inner critic we were talking about earlier?
Exactly.
That voice that's always telling us we're not good enough, smart enough, or whatever enough.
And that inner critic can be a real energy vampire.
Oh, yeah.
Draining our confidence and keeping us stuck in a cycle of self-doubt.
So the first step is to become more aware of that negative self-talk.
That's right. Just notice it.
Okay.
The judgments, the criticisms, the shoulds that are constantly swirling around in your mind.
So it's like becoming a spy in our own minds?
Yes.
Listening in on those conversations we're having with ourselves often without even realizing it.
Exactly. And once you're aware of those negative thoughts,
Yeah.
you can start to challenge them.
Okay.
Ask yourself, is this thought really true? Is it helpful?
Right.
Is it kind?
Yeah.
And if the answer is no, then you can choose to replace that thought with a more positive and empowering one.
So instead of beating myself up for making a mistake,
Right.
I can choose to be more compassionate with myself.
Exactly.
Like, okay, I messed up, but that's okay. Yeah.
I'm human. I'm learning.
Yeah.
I'll do better next time.
It's about shifting from a mindset of self-criticism to a mindset of self-compassion.
I like that.
And this applies to our communication with others, too.
Right.
Instead of gossiping, complaining, or blaming, we can choose to speak from a place of honesty, kindness, and respect.
You know, that makes so much sense. When we speak with kindness, we create a ripple effect of positivity.
Yes.
Not just for ourselves, but for everyone around us.
Exactly. And even when we disagree with someone,
Right.
we can do it in a way that's assertive, but not aggressive, respectful, but not passive.
Right.
It's about remembering that our words have power.
Yeah.
They can create connection or they can create conflict.
Totally. Okay, that's great advice for being impeccable with our words.
Thanks.
But what about that second agreement? Don't take anything personally.
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one.
This is the one I really struggle with.
Right.
How can I stop feeling hurt or offended when someone says something mean or does something that upsets me? We'll remember that analogy of everyone directing their own movie.
Yeah.
Keep that image in mind.
Okay.
Most people are so caught up in their own dramas,
Yeah.
their own fears and insecurities,
Right.
that they're not even thinking about you.
So you're saying that when someone lashes out at me, it's more about their own stuff than about me?
That's right.
Wow, that's such a liberating thought. It's like taking off a heavy coat that I've been carrying around for years.
And when we stop taking everything personally, it frees up so much energy and emotional space.
I can imagine.
We can start to see situations more objectively.
Okay.
And we become less reactive to the negativity that comes our way.
So instead of getting defensive or feeling attacked,
Right.
we can choose to observe the situation with more detachment.
Yes.
More like a curious scientist than a wounded warrior.
Exactly. And remember, it's not about becoming indifferent or insensitive.
Okay.
We can still have empathy and compassion for others. But we don't have to absorb their negativity or let it define our own self-worth.
Okay, this is so helpful. Okay, now let's tackle that third agreement. Don't make assumptions.
Okay.
This feels like one of those easier said than done agreements.
It can be.
Our minds are constantly trying to fill in the blanks to make sense of the world, even when we don't have all the information.
You're right. Our brains are wired to make assumptions.
Yeah.
But the good news is we can rewire them.
Okay.
And the key to doing that is to practice asking questions.
Wait, so instead of jumping to conclusions, I should just ask for clarification.
Yes. And it's not just about asking others.
Right.
It's also about asking ourselves.
Okay.
When you notice yourself making an assumption, pause for a moment and ask yourself, is this really true?
Right.
Do I know this for sure?
Yeah.
Or am I just filling in the blanks with my own interpretation?
That's a great tip. I often catch myself making assumptions about what my partner is thinking or feeling, and it usually leads to misunderstandings. But if I just ask him directly, hey, what's going on? What are you thinking? Then we can avoid a lot of unnecessary drama.
Exactly. Clear communication is the antidote to assumptions.
Absolutely.
And it's not just about the words we speak, but also about how we listen.
Okay.
Don't just hear what you want to hear.
Right.
Or filter the information through your own biases.
Right.
Be open to different perspectives, even if they challenge your own beliefs.
This is making me realize how much unnecessary conflict and heartache we create by making assumptions.
It's true.
It's like we're constantly building walls between ourselves and others when what we really need are bridges.
And speaking of bridges, that brings us to the fourth agreement.
Yeah.
Always do your best.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, this is not about perfectionism.
Right.
It's about effort, intention, and showing up fully in each moment.
Right. We talked about how our best will naturally fluctuate from day to day. Some
Uh,
days we'll be firing on all cylinders, and other days we'll just be trying to survive.
exactly, and that's perfectly okay. The key is to be kind and compassionate with ourselves,
Uh-huh.
to celebrate our wins and to learn from our setbacks.
So it's about progress, not perfection.
That's it?
And remember, this agreement applies to all areas of our lives,
Yeah.
not just work or big goals.
Right.
It's about bringing our best selves to our relationships,
Well,
our health, our hobbies, everything we do.
that's the idea.
So it's about being present and engaged in each moment rather than constantly striving for some future outcome.
Yes, it's about enjoying the journey, not just the destination.
Okay.
And when we consistently do our best,
Yeah.
we cultivate self-trust and a deep sense of inner peace.
This whole conversation has been so eye-opening for me. It's like a light bulb has gone off in my head. I'm starting to see how much power I have to create a happier and more fulfilling life.
Yeah.
Simply by shifting my agreements with myself.
And that's the beauty of the 4 agreements.
Right.
It empowers us to take responsibility for our own happiness, our own reality. It's not about blaming others or waiting for things to change.
Right.
It's about choosing to see the world through a different lens.
Right.
A lens of love, compassion, and personal power.
It's like we've been handed this incredible toolbox.
Yes.
And now it's up to us to use these tools to build the life we desire.
Exactly. And the more you practice these agreements, the more natural they become.
Yeah.
They become ingrained habits.
Right.
Guiding you towards a life that's aligned with your truest self.
Mm-hmm.
A life that's filled with joy, peace, and authentic connection.
This has been such an incredible deep dive.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and insights with us.
It's been my pleasure. And to everyone listening, remember, you have the power to choose freedom and happiness.
Yes.
It all starts with the agreements you make with yourself.
So go out there and create your own personal dream of heaven.
Hmm.
The world is waiting for you to shine.
Yeah.